Hey there, and welcome to Time to Lean, the podcast where you air your dirty laundry and we help you clean up your shit. I'm Crystal Britt.
And I'm Laura Danger. Think of us as your household secret weapon, taking your questions and voicemails to navigate the wild world of gender norms and household dynamics.
We dive headfirst into the nitty-gritty of how broader social issues impact our everyday lives.
So don't be shy, send us your dirty laundry.
And we'll help you clean up your shit.
This is Time to Lean. Back, everybody. This is Crystal and Laura with Time to Lean. And today's topic of conversation is something that I'm sure is on everybody's mind, which is back to school.
Back to school. It's my most favorite time of year and my least favorite time of year.
It's so intense.
Yeah.
It's so intense. I'm starting, you know what? I don't know how I've suspended my reality or I like my belief. I don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't been to Target lately.
So that is a big contributor. Yeah.
I've not been watching live TV. I just had my head down.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it your favorite and least favorite time of year?
Because I love the predictability and the routine and the familiarity of, and my house runs so much smoother with a predictable routine, which we have maintained more or less this summer with summer camp and like daycare, which we have not done before. So that has been nice. But all three of my kids will be in full-time school this year. It will be nice to be able to have something that is very predictable and routine. But I am a parent who gets overwhelmed with lots of questions. And my kids are notorious for just blasting me with 800 questions at 6:15 in the morning. So there's a lot of choosing and organizing, and it burns out my executive function to get ready for the school year.
Yeah, I feel the same about the routine. And that's actually, we do the same thing. We keep the same routine through the summer. Like we feel incredibly lucky that we have the fact that the routine stays the same is like incredibly stabilizing. But we are also, I have an entering kindergartner and a third grader going into third grade. And it's a big transition for us. Yesterday, I was like, oh no, she's going to need to figure out how to do after school pickup. It's going to be like, our kids do uniforms. And so that's kind of like,
so nice.
Yours
No,
doesn't?
mine does not.
Yeah, I like uniforms because my kids are very into style. And if we don't have the things that they want prepared for that morning,
It derails the whole morning.
it becomes a whole big deal. There's like an emotional shutdown. But yeah, trying to get the paperwork sorted has me panicked. The emotional aspect of like, are they going to like their teachers? How are their classmates going to be? They're going to come home totally exhausted. It's so much unknown. And I feel like as parents, we just have to be like ready for it.
Ready. You have to brace. You have to brace for it. Yeah, I'm tired already. I'm exhausted. Yeah, it's very, like you said, like the unknowns and the unpredictability of, my kids have been asking me for 3 weeks, whose class am I in? Who's my teacher? Like, and our school doesn't give any of that information out. This year, they're doing it like the week of. Like, I have no idea who their teachers are going to be. And for our ingoing kindergartner, it is stressful. So stressful. She's very stressed, has the opportunity to be in class with one of her cousins, and we won't know. We'll have no clue until she gets there. So it is very, very nerve-wracking. So many emotions. Everybody's, and then it's the thing of like, I need to regulate myself so I can like do it. And I just want to sleep all day. I have no interest in trying to regulate myself. I want to throw a fit too. So it's a heavy mental load. And I feel like even in our household where I feel like our domestic load is distributed a little bit more evenly, one thing, this is not, I'm not being paid to say this. I do work for Persist in coaching, but they pay me. It's great. But having in the Persist app the ability to see the emotionally heavy and the mentally heavy tasks has changed the way that we do back to school stuff, right? Like going shopping for the back to school or being in charge of the kids' closets is very stressful for me because not only am I having to make a lot of decisions, then the kids are also having, like, they have a lot of opinions, which they should, but it's like mental overload for me and I can't do both at the same time. So because it's emotionally heavy, this year we're actually just calling an audible and having my parents do it because my parents love to take them clothes shopping. So I'm like, great, anybody else do this, please. But I like being able to look at it and Persist and be like, oh, we have 3 weeks of very mentally heavy tasks coming up. So we should probably bunker down.
Yeah. So if anyone is listening and is unfamiliar, Persist, it's timeforpersist.com. And we'll put a discount link in the show notes. But it's like an app, a web app where you can go in, you and your partner can distribute the domestic labor and like it is qualitative and quantitative. So it like accounts for mental, emotional load, time sensitive or time bound tasks and things like that. It's very cool. I hadn't thought about updating mine. That's a great
Oh my
idea.
God. I literally, because I've done 2 coaching sessions in the last 2 weeks, I'm looking at mine and I'm like, oh, we gotta update this. Just in prep for the school year, because it just makes it so much easier to go, oh, that's right. Or even in this season of life, right? I was recommending to clients the other day who are neurodivergent, because that's what I specialize in providing coaching for with neurodivergent couples. I was like, if this only needs to be a season, like wait until 3 months into school starting and then go back and look and see if they're still as emotionally heavy, right? I feel like depending upon what the parents are going through, these are going to be heavier tasks, they're going to be lighter tasks. Even if you're a single parent, using it to be able to gauge, right? The smartest thing my mom ever told me when I was talking to her about this was like a year ago. I was like, I feel underwater with my therapy clients. I'm exhausted. I am burnt out at the end of every day. And she was like, can you make a list of your clients and how emotionally draining or how much energy they take, right? Like how much, like some clients are going through a lot, some are not going through very much and just like want to meet to check in. Make a list and decide which is heavier. And then don't stack all of the heavy ones on the same day. And I was like, that's really smart. So if you can avoid it, or if you have a partner who like, it doesn't bother them to take it, it doesn't bother them to do back to school shopping or what have you. Play to your
Right.
strengths.
Right. Go with I like that idea because it's like it's not that it's not necessarily having a hard time getting those things done. It's like the strategy, it's being able to strategize those things. And it's like, I'm going to put the demanding thing at this time. Somebody was recently talking about that with hormonal changes that fluctuate throughout the month.
Oh my God.
And like
So smart.
my ADHD meds don't work. They work
They don't fucking work during
yeah.
the luteal phase. During the luteal phase, you're taking placebo pills, my
Yes.
friends. There's research. I mean, you're not actually taking placebo pills, but there's research that shows how ineffective it can be for some people.
So, yeah, if somebody I was following was like, move your stuff around so that you have some slow times. Sophie Lucido Johnson talks about this too, where she's like, we're animals.
I loved that post the other day. It was like, take some cues from animals about how to live
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Just chill out for a little bit. They
Take
hibernate in
take
the
a nap on the
winter.
couch. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I love that. For a second, for a little validation, let's do an exercise.
I'm
What
so
are
here for
some
it.
of
Hell yeah.
what are some of the tasks that are associated with back to school?
Like generally, or like if we were taking it from like Persist or Fair Play?
Both. Like what rattle them off. What
Okay.
are we looking at?
Yeah. Clothing, like figuring out back to school clothing, what they need, school supplies, figuring out like coordinating back to school lists, uh, teacher communication, like when that you have back to school night or first day of school, collecting all of that. Extracurriculars. Sometimes I feel like most of the time we have to have those set up way before school starts. Like they start emailing us about those If you have a kid like in junior high, they start emailing those to you like in fucking April. School calendar, managing calendar and making sure you don't miss the first day of school, but also our school has always done this like since we were little, where the first day is a half day. They call them like that's a half day. Second day is a full day. Third day, which is always a Friday, and all of their Fridays are minimum days. So I have to keep in my mind 3 different times to pick my kids up the first week of school.
What's a minimum day?
Minimum days are when they get, well, it used to be when I was younger, it was like for PD, they would do professional development every Friday for the teachers, or like prep, just like to give them a day off or like a half a day off. I'm trying to figure out how they make up for those for the rest of the year. I mean, I guess it's because the school day is like 8 to 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a longer school day. But anyway, minimum days are just like, that's every Friday. They have a minimum day. They get out early. Actually for our school district, anyway, I don't want to give too much identifying information. Anyway, all of those things. Yeah. There are 3 different pickup times first week of school. And then also the back to school week, we have open house, and it's, like everybody's got a different time because they go alphabetically. And it's always like the day before school. You're like, what the fuck? No, thank you. Lunches, figuring out school lunch and the system, transportation. What else?
School rules, and I mean, you mentioned that, but like looking at all of the schedules, dress code, back to school lists, shopping, sorting those out, labeling them.
Oh my God. Thankfully our school does communal, but even that is like, but that means we have a lot more that we need to buy because they all share them communally. And then doing all of that same stuff for each classroom, going over each teacher's classroom rules, signing acknowledgements there, getting signed up on, whatever the fucking parent group me. I got to manage 3 different group me's.
What?
Background clearances, volunteer, like the volunteer clearance, car clearance if you're doing that. You see how we're both disassociating? It's so much. It's just so much shit.
I think we should just end the episode here.
All done. That's it. That's all we got. Just naming them made us tired. We can't.
Okay. There's so much to it, and it's really hard. I'm gonna have to like snap myself back in here because it really feels like climbing a mountain. But there are so many things that we can do to set ourselves up for equity with our partners or with our families who are helping, and the people in our neighborhood and the other parents in the community. We can do stuff to make this more streamlined or manageable. So what are some of the things that you have learned to make it easier on yourself or in your household?
Oh, we're sharing lessons about how we've figured out how to make this easier?
I can go first.
You go first.
Okay. I know.
You go first.
I'm feeling really defeatist right now, but realistic, like there are ways to fix this. Okay. So, one thing that we figured out a couple of years ago, I had an event that I had to be out of town for the first week of school and I was like,
it's every parent's nightmare.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my gosh, we don't know the lunch system. We don't know the schedules. My mom came into town so that there could be a tag team system because it was just going to be.
That's so much for one person.
Seriously. She would have come into town if it was just me. She came into town because it was just my husband. But as a team, Jack and I sat down and we made a list of like lunches where it was like, okay, here's a protein, a veggie, or it was like a protein, a fiber, and whatever else it was. And we looked at how many calories we thought she would need during the day, protein amount, like we looked up nutritional facts to try to figure out how many grams of protein she would need, and things like that. And then we like ordered, we tried like samplers of non-nut protein things. And like we sat down at the kitchen table and looked all this stuff up. And then we like went through the pantry together and looked at the containers that we could use. And we came up with basically it was like a chart. And we have,
Mhm.
I think I shouldn't speak. We wrote down like columns and it was all of those things basically. So it was mix and match. And so either of us or my mom, whoever was helping out, could like go
I
through and
love
make a
that. Go through to
lunch.
that chart. I fucking love a good chart. I love a good chart that's executable, that's actionable,
Yes.
right? Like it is
Yes.
so nice to be able to look at something and go, "Oh, cool. Here's how I put that together."
Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, there are things that you could do to make this. I mean, your kids, I want to hear how you guys do lunch, but
Mm,
I feel like this could also be adapted so that the kids can make their own lunch. You could do like if you're the type of family who's going to be including your kids on this and want like Velcro and little pictures, and then your kid can be like, I want the grapes and the cheese, and you could
mhm.
make this a whole thing if that's a lesson you're trying to teach your kids. But for us, it was like I didn't even really look back at it until maybe like 6 months in. It was just like the process of putting it
Right.
together was
Yes.
so helpful.
I mean, and I feel like that is the biggest component because like even now as we're like talking about it and conceptualizing like back to school, the resistance I have mentally to do and Ben and I both to doing it is that you have to sit down and it's a project. You have to
Ugh.
sit down and do it and it's not a project that anybody's like, "Yay!" I mean, the kids
Right.
are, but like we're like, "Oh my god, I'm going to do this every year for the rest of our lives." But like having I like the idea of making it streamlined because then it feels like even again, conceptualizing it makes it feel manageable and
Mhm.
I think I think that's the component that is also really helpful is the idea of doing it with other people. Who talks about this? Do you know what I mean? Like I don't call you. If we
Right.
didn't do this podcast, I would not have called you and like, so how do you guys set up the school year? Can you help me like figure out, you know what I mean? I was thinking of like a very particular problem. It's good to have
Mhm.
an overall idea of like, hey, how do you do it? Could we like
Mhm.
figure this out? Like, I mean, there are a bunch of different ways. I love the way that you talked about doing lunch because, yeah, like we could do the same thing, have the chart for the kids, which would be great visual for all of my kids. And then to be able to have baskets in the pantry that have those things in it labeled, right? Because there's something about, even in my brain, and I'm 37, there's something in my head that's like, I know that those are fruit circles in that basket. And I know that that's like a fruit and a veggie, but like having it labeled is like, oh, it makes it so much easier in my brain. But even having, oh, there was something else I was going to say about, oh, we sit down all in one night and sign all of the things that come through. Ben and I will sit and like, if we both need signatures or whatever, or if one, we'll split the stack in half and then we just do them all in one night. Um, this year, I think we're also going to make a chart or set reminders or do something with like all of the events that need money or cash or like, you know,
Mm.
so that we can, toward the end of the year, the lower school ASB does a thing where it's like Wacky Wednesday. They might even do it through the whole year. I may just like disassociate through the first 2/3. But the kids have to bring $1 to participate, like wear PJs to school, and you give $1 to ASB to be able to wear PJs to school, right? So it's like
Mhm.
at the beginning of each month, somebody needs to be in charge of withdrawing fucking cash. Why these kids can't
Right.
print QR codes is beyond me. Just kidding. But like having, having that so it's
Yeah.
easier. Those little things add up so fast.
Yeah. The going through and sitting down all in one day and doing all of those forms is great. Like I know I'm like a project-based person. Being able to check it off is great. I love being able to check it off. Something I was going through um at least for the forms for our school, it's like first contact, second contact.
Mm,
It doesn't say like mom or dad anymore, which is great.
that's awesome.
Um but what happens a lot of times is regardless of that, a teacher will email me
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Um, and so we've gotten in the habit, Jack will email the teacher directly and CC me and make it very
Oh,
clear, hey, can you make sure? And like right now he works in the, he works in the suburbs and I'm closer. So it's flip
Right.
flopped.
Makes
Before
more
I
sense.
used to have an hour commute and he was local, but still like the first time it happens that they call home and it's the parent, regardless of your gender, the parent who isn't more flexible, like we've gotten in the habit of contacting or sending an email preemptively and being like, "Hey, this is our family situation. I'm the person you should contact for here. If you can't get a hold of them, it's just like a hey, what's up?"
That's really smart. That is really, really smart.
And him doing it like sends a very clear message.
Yeah,
Like, "Hey, I'm
absolutely.
here."
Yeah. I'm here and like directly you should I have had my son be in the office before and the office be like, we're gonna call your mom. And have him be like, she's in an appointment. It's 11 o'clock. She's with a client. Call my dad. And they've been like, okay, well, we're just going to call her first. He's like, okay, she's not going to pick up. And sure enough, I do not pick up. But yeah, the way it's like, oh, my name sounds like I have a vagina in my name. So
Mhm.
I guess go ahead and call me first. Like, no, I love that preemptive, like, again, that like intro to our family kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like, I love that. Of like, hey, this is what's going on. This is a heads up. As a teacher, would that have been helpful? Like, I always worry that teachers
Yes.
get that and they're like,
Yes.
oh my God, okay, this
You know,
family, first thing in my inbox. Cool.
this is actually something that's in my book, Teaser. Um, this exact
Exclusive.
I got I got an incredibly intense message about something that happened because of this exact scenario of like calling mom and like assuming mom would be the one. It was like something pretty bad happened. Again, teaser. Get the book. It in maybe a couple of months, I don't know. Fingers crossed. But yeah, as a teacher, what I started doing was I sent home, and this was actually like props to uh the team that I worked with at the first school I ever worked with, which wasn't a necessarily very progressive school. It was a religious school and with conservative values. However, they had a lot of the students lived in intergenerational homes, a lot of intergenerational homes, and a lot of uh, English as a second language families where the household structure was just like not your
Oh,
standard
yeah, it was
mom and
different.
dad
Mm-hmm.
in English speaking, no translator needed. That was not the situation. So it was like we'd send a survey home and be like, which adult do we call first? Do you need a
Mm.
translator? Which language will we be? And so we would have a protocol of like going down the line, who are we going to talk to? We have shift working parents. So it was like, if it's during these hours, call big sister.
I
And
love that you guys like had access to that information.
it was amazing. We had a big binder where you could be like, and even then I could like hand it to, the person who was in the office. I kept it in my classroom and I'd be like, hey, we got a call as soon as possible. Here's all the
Right.
info you need.
Right.
And
It's all in one place.
it like gave them the opportunity to tell me what they wanted. I didn't always nail it, but it
Sure.
was there.
Right.
It was
And I'm
great.
sure it was one of those things where it's like it increased the likelihood that we would get it. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
As opposed to
Hmm.
just like, oh, well, we'll just call mom. It's
Yeah, and then
like,
she'll call grandma, and then
yeah,
grandma will
exactly.
get big
Well,
sister to
now we're
translate and call me.
now we're in a phone tree. So go
Right.
ahead and yeah, absolutely. Especially I love that. Well, and here's the thing. I feel like especially for as we see Gen Z get older and like get older and millennials get older and these kids, Gen Alpha get older. It's like more and more living in non-traditional family structures. So how silly are you going to feel when you call and you're like, hey, is this, hey, I need to talk to mom. And it's like, well, that's not possible. We need to talk to, like being able to have that heads up, I think clears a lot of the air or clears the way for better communication
Hmm.
from teachers and families. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really helpful. You said a couple of things. I want to toss back to like what you were saying that is barreling in our direction, which is things like extracurriculars, carpools, play dates, after school, and things where another adult or another, like an outside group
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
people or like coordination is involved. I don't deal with that in my life. Like we don't really have like family friends or like not a ton of like we aren't like carpooling with people. Everything is very we have a non it's a different situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Oh, I cry a lot. No, I here's here's what's hard. As an introverted person with kids who are normal in terms of socializing, right? Like they are kids who I remember begging my mom every fucking weekend to be at Erica Dragi's house because she was my best friend, right? Like I get it. And uh it is I've got to figure out where to put my own shit about because it also pulls me into community kicking and screaming, which is good for me,
Mhm.
but it is so exhausting. So
Mhm.
exhausting. People who attend church with me know that when we used to hold pool parties prior to COVID, the last quarter of that pool party, you could find me upstairs in my room. I would Irish goodbye it and just be up in my room because I had reached my limit. But we need community, right? So
Mhm.
the way that I handle it, here's the thing. I think that I could figure out a better, more systemic way, like more standardized way of handling it and fixing it. Part of the problem is then I have to hold to that, which is also something that my brain hates. So
Yeah.
I don't fucking, and then I get frustrated with myself. And I'm like, they're asking me to go hang out on a Monday when I said only Wednesdays. And now I don't have the will to fight you on it. So sure, Mondays. And now they're going to ask me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to get together. So part of it is like the inner, this is going to sound so therapy and woo woo, but part of it is trusting myself of like, it's okay to not it's okay to say no to what you set down and to hold to your standard and boundary so you have sanity, and it's also okay to not have to engage the kids in every conversation about that. So for me, I think it's a matter of setting it up in a way that is figuring out, again, when it gets jumbled like that in my brain and we're trying to figure out what to do, what are the values, what are our family values, what are the kids' needs, right? Like, and what are their values, right? What are they trying, especially as my kids get older. My middle will be 10. My oldest he'll be 10 in September, and my oldest will be 12 in January. So as they try to create autonomy from us and individuate, we've got to factor that in. So that's a whole other clusterfuck. And as you know, we're both entering middle age and are like, we haven't done that yet. So like trying to figure out what everybody's needs are. And then I am into this year. The kids hate when I do this, but I'm like, I don't care. Sit down and we're all going to do it together, because I would like for them to see the effort and work that goes into the background behind the scenes shit of like, your dad and I don't just pick this shit because it's fun for us to schedule play dates for you.
Mhm.
This takes planning, it takes execution, it takes, so that when they want to spring it on me, and do you ever do the thing with your mom with your friends where you were like asked in front of her with the friend next to you so that she would have to say yes?
Yeah.
I got in trouble for that all the time. So like now they do it and I'm like, low key, I get it, but also I'm a freak out.
It
So
happened yesterday. Yeah. Mom, can we have a play date? Sometime, yeah.
yeah. Yep. I had a kid yesterday, not my kid, a kid at summer camp approach me and be like, "Hey, can I come over this weekend?"
Oh
And I'm
no.
like, "You know what, bud? Let me talk to his dad. I'll
Oh.
and it's the sweet. It's like, I love that you
Yeah.
want to be at our house. I love that you want to spend time with us. Also, part of me wants to pull this kid Did you ever watch Billy Madison?
Yeah.
This is going to be the most abstract reference. But the part where the kid's like, I can't wait to be in high school. And he grabs his face and he's like, don't you say that. Don't you ever say that. That's how I feel with these kids, where I'm like, come over and have a play date, but low key, I'm going to let you play Fortnite and eat a bunch of chips. Because guess why? Treasure it.
Yeah.
Adulthood's terrible. You're going to come to my house and get some fun and a dose of heavy hitting reality. What was the question? How do I organize that?
Yes.
Like that. That's how I organize it. So I'm going to sit down, figure out what we need to get needs met, and figure out emotion wise and like mental load wise what's going to be easiest and healthiest for everybody involved, if we can find a overlap of that Venn diagram.
Yeah. And involved in that is like, right, like maintaining a friendly enough relationship with with the parents, keeping track of their phone numbers and like with their vibes and their that like navigating of all of that and scheduling. And I think the other piece of that is I've been trying to figure out swim lessons for over a year at this point. And I just keep being like, I don't know how much energy we're going to have what day of the week. Like I've got to figure out like, does the manic energy peak on a Tuesday, or is that like the devastating meltdown day?
Is it consistent in your household? Because that's never consistent in my house. Yeah, it would be nice.
And what that does for me is discourages me from doing anything.
Yep.
And so I've been like, okay, am I going to sign up for, I cannot believe how expensive swim lessons are. I cannot.
Extracurriculars are bonkers. We paid $200 a piece for two kids to be an AYSO. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And like, I get it, but also like, hello?
That's the thing is like, I'm always like, my parents didn't do this, did they? Did my parents do that? I was in, both of my brothers were in like soccer and softball and like all these things. And was it like, how did they do that? I did a ton of sports and dance.
We did. Oh, well, we're a blended family, so it's kind of like 2 generations of children. But like a lot of what I did was available through school, right? Like we did it at school. So, and I didn't play sports growing up. So it was like, I did choir, I did drama, I did yearbook. Those would have like extemporaneous fees associated, like $100 ASB fee, but that's it. Like it wasn't crazy. My brother, they absolutely put like, he did baseball, he did like club and all of those things that are wildly expensive. They're so expensive. And like you said, like to the point of like meltdown and energy wise, you know, soccer for us is going to be two practice days a week and a game on Saturdays. So it's like, we just have to, we hunker down and we just go because the activity regulates the kids, which helps. But it's also like, it's that thing of like carrying a live grenade or a live bomb,
right?
To buckle them into a car seat to get them to, and you're like, I hope this works. I hope this is okay.
Yeah. And then it's like when you have multiple children, and it's like, I've been taking them to the pool. I was just telling you this. And it's like, great. Now the little one won't get in. And so it's like, but the big one needs her earplugs and wants to learn how to go underwater. So how do I navigate this situation? Yeah. And it seems like such a silly thing to be like stressed about, but it's on top of a million other things.
Yes.
And so I guess I brought up the swim lesson things because it's like, okay, Monday in Chicago at 9 a.m., the swim lesson spots open for Chicago Park District. And you sit there. I don't know if it's like this in your school area.
You have to physically go?
We don't have to physically go. You can, and there's a line out the door, or you can sit at your computer with multiple tabs open, like getting a Taylor Swift ticket.
Yep. Refresh.
Yep. Oh, cool. And then it's like, fuck, got waitlisted.
God damn it.
And it's
Yeah.
like I mean, my friend Erin texted me 2 days ago. She's been like pool watching all summer for me. And it was just like they open on Monday. But it's like, okay, it's the park district and I have limited schedule options with that, or it's private lessons here. And like, it's just a lot. Like you said, it's like a million decisions and
Mm-hmm.
so many variables and
Yes.
moods and like the emotional drain of being like, okay, am I going to battle my child? Am I going to do that today?
And every Monday for how many weeks? Like that's my
Yeah.
thing is I'm like, there a long time ago, I had to make the decision like, no, if hey, if one of you is signed up for soccer, we're a soccer family for the season. Deal with it. And I make everybody go to games. Cause I'm like, suck it up. We cheered for you when you were 5. Everybody get in the car. You're cheering for your sibling. Like they don't do anything. They're fine. I'm like, bring a book, bring something to do, settle in. But yeah, it's like the variables of like all of the things that make you just want to go, never mind. I'm good.
Oh, exactly.
And
Oh.
which I should say a couple of things. You can do that.
Oh, yes. Well, that's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that's what we
I
do
do
when
nothing.
that's what we do when this year I was like, you have to my middle kid, I was like, you pick soccer or baseball
Mhm.
because the energy level, like it's just the school day goes better, everything goes better if he has that outlet. Otherwise he's gonna be picking up rocks and I'm going to buy a bunch of bricks and it's going to be like holes where he's going to have to move one pile of bricks from one part of the driveway to the other every day. So, but I was like, you have to pick. I don't know why I started that sentence. I had a client one time who decided for the two partners decided together, we're not going to do all these crazy sports things until the kids are in junior high or some age. It was some definitive age.
Yeah.
And instead they used that money that they would have spent toward Disneyland passes every year. So like they were a family of means and had the money, but they chose an alternative.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you can also do that because if
Yeah.
the point is time outside, if the value, right, is time outside, time as a family, instilling teamwork, you can decide for every Saturday, we're going to go on a hike, or 2 Saturdays a month or 1 Saturday a month. We're going to go on a hike to this place. We're going to teach them how to read maps. We're going to teach them how to read a compass. We're going to teach them how to swim in a creek, whatever. Right. Like you can decide to do something totally different, but deciding, because when our oldest was little, we were like, we had friends that were signing their 2-year-olds up for fucking soccer and swimming and music class and Tinker labs. And I was like, what the fuck? Do we have to do all this?
Okay, but also I feel like those of us whose parenthood was interrupted or affected by COVID had
Yeah.
a massive, like for me, I was Bubbles Academy, music at the library, Little
Mm-hmm.
Kickers. We were at every single thing that we could do. And then COVID happened. And not only did like everything shut down, but my anxiety about having my kids in other spaces with other children that are outside of their regular exposure, my health anxiety is so intense at this point where it's like, we got to find other options. We got to find other things. Going to the pool outside works. Who know? So there's like
That's
so
very
many
true.
factors.
And because we're in California, like that, it's not as much of a thing here because most things can be done outside. But yeah, absolutely. Right. Like it's also, like you said, also the thing of having that like post lockdown trauma of like, also the idea that like the alternative is sitting at home. So it's like one or the other, right? Is like, okay, cool. So then I've got to sit with that. But so
It has impacted us so deeply. And I
yes.
think we've all come up with like, it's like new, it's a new, I'm a different parent than I was when my oldest was a baby.
Oh, 100%. And the other thing too, my oldest was born in 2013 and my youngest was born in 2018. So the experience, the babyhood of both of those children was totally different. completely
Mhm.
different. And it's not that I feel like it shows. It's just like, yeah, we're much more cautious and we read vibes. Like you said, we read vibes of the organization and of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
families that we're interacting with, because we're like, cool, are you going to come to class with active COVID? And
Oh,
nobody's going
yeah.
to, are you a
Yeah.
don't test, don't tell family? Because
Mhm.
we don't fucking do that, dude. Like, we're not
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's a very, yeah, it's so all of that to say, doing something like picking extracurriculars or deciding what to sign up for, these are all of the things that are nested under each of these tasks.
Right. That's why it's like working a job and coming home and being like, I work hard so that we can have a good life. That pisses me off so much because it like what the amount of work that goes into that, the amount of decision making and emotional and mental labor that goes into that.
Oh,
It
like when a working parent opts
Yeah.
out and they're like, "Oh no, I
Yeah.
work all day. I'm not going to do work when I get home."
Or they're like, I will support you in anything you
You
choose.
want to do. Mhm. Yes.
I'll cut
Yeah.
the check.
Yeah.
I what
Cutting the check is the easiest part.
Oh,
How about I cut the check? I'll take your checkbook. I cut the check. You get it situated.
yeah. No,
Mhm.
actually it's whatever you want.
Yep. Absolutely. There's so many things nested within each fucking activity.
Let me tell you this one thing. This sticks out in my head so much. And maybe this is like our last point, but
Sure.
my friend went out to dinner one time and they texted me after this and they were like, "Oh my gosh." So they were with a girlfriend, man and a woman, got engaged. And they were talking about the wedding planning and my friend asks the man, like, "How's it been going? Are you guys stressed?" And he goes, "I already did the hard part. I proposed." And they were like, "Excuse me?
And then
What?
later he was on Reddit and he saw an Am I the Asshole? And he
My
was like, wait a
wife.
second. Wait a
Am I
second.
the
This sounds like
asshole?"
me. Is this guy the asshole? Him, 27 male.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's like, can you? Oh my God.
Are you stressed about wedding planning? No. It's easy. It's really
It's
easy.
it's really easy. I don't know why she's so stressed out. She got it done.
Just like I just thinking about wedding planning makes me sweat. No, thank you.
Well, and the other thing too is like even in that situation, which like could be similar to like the kid, like, well, the kids are in school. What else is there to it? Do you know what I mean? It's a direct opting out of the again, and we talk about this all the fucking time, but a direct opting out of the care work that it takes to nurture and tend to a kid in school or a wedding. I don't know that I would want to marry somebody like that. I did the hard part.
No, yeah, and I think that my friend was kind of like, "No, you noticed like something changed in the room when he said that."
As it should.
It should, and that's what's so that okay, and like speaking to that point, and it has to do with I feel like there's a gendered responsibility that comes with that, and you miss so many red flags, I think, in that moment where it's like, well, no, she has stronger opinions. She's been dreaming about
She
her
has
wedding.
preferences. Mhm.
Yeah. And so it's like, why are you stressed about it? Just pick a color. Why are you stressed? Just like hire a caterer. It's like, what do you mean hire a caterer? What about the fucking budget? And where are we going to put the food? And do they allow outside food? Is it going to be open bar? What about Uncle Frank, who's in recovery? And then Janet's going to be upset because they're seated together and Janet's had it's just like,
Because
just pick something, babe. Stop being stressed.
because then it inevitably will turn into, we'll just put the baby down earlier. Why wouldn't you just put the baby to bed earlier if they're so tired? Like, well, I don't know. Why don't you just hire somebody to watch the baby? Well, I don't know. Why don't you just take a night off? And it's
Uh
like
huh. Uh huh.
those are the questions that inevitably follow if
Yeah.
there's already something that's being missed from the jump.
No, no, it's bad.
Being a person is exhausting.
Uh, um, I mean, okay, let's bring it back to shout out to Persist. We have a link to download and a discount.
Yes.
But also, we have downloads on our website.
Yeah.
No, we have downloads available through our Patreon that you
Oh,
can
yeah,
get.
we do. You can get all of them. Listen,
Yes.
you become a Patreon, you can get all of them. You get every
Yes.
single download we have.
We have organizers, things like helping with meal planning. There's a whole section about meal planning with like and schedule
Calendars,
making. Yep.
charts. Yep, we have like I think we have one for values, right? Like figuring out why you're
Yep.
doing what you're doing
Yep.
versus doing something out of obligation. Yep. We've got so many. That one workbook has so many printables that you can pull right
Yep.
out of it. Yeah, you can all
And
get included.
schedule organizers, things like that for visuals for kids if you want,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
or
We
for
use those all
family,
the
I should
time. We
say.
print out, use those Velcro. Can you hear my dog barking in his sleep? He's sleeping.
Oh, now I
The
can.
puppy. He's the
Yeah.
puppy. Yeah, all of those are available on our Patreon. You sign up $5 or $7 a month, and you can get all of that plus ad-free episodes.
Heck yeah.
Pretty good. Awesome.
Well, we'll see you online, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Time to Lean. Your questions and stories are what keep us going, so keep those voicemails and messages coming.
Until our next episode, remember that you can always find us on social media and, of course, in your podcast feed. You can also subscribe for $5 a month on Spotify for uninterrupted episodes and bonus content.
We're so grateful for your support. See you next time.